Should I have killed you, Jimmy Brooks? I would never doubt you, Dutch. You always said revenge is a luxury we can't afford.
Gentlemen, it is time to make something of ourselves. Screw it. Let's just have some fun. Geld him. Oh, yeah!
What's he doing? Where's he going?
Oh, don't worry. You're only balls, boy. Just gonna cause you trouble. You know, in Imperial Rome, eunuchs was among the happiest and most loyal of courtiers.
No, you're kidding me, right?
Of course.
You sick bastards!
Breaking every rule our society functions with, I played 100 days in Red Dead Redemption 2. Jumping straight into it, we are greeted with spit and snow, introducing us to Arthur. Yo, we are playing, or is this a cutscene? We walked into the barn-like structure where I understood that you cannot mount these horses yet. But I discovered some character names when I wanted to mount them, like Charles and Mike. These are pretty important characters down the line, you'll see. Then I walked 50 yards where we were greeted by Mr. Pearson, our first cowboy companion. And this is what he had to say.
We're gonna starve to death up here, Mr. Morgan.
With those words of motivation, I discovered that you can interact with the characters in the game by holding the right mouse button. And there begins our first mission, the aftermath of Genesis. He explains that we do not have enough food for everyone, and when he was about to tell his story about the Navy,
I do not wish to hear about what you got up to in the Navy, Mr. Pearson.
then we discovered that the gang ran away from a place called Blackwater, and he didn't have enough time to load up on the supplies while government agents were hunting them down. Quite the situation to be in, if you ask me. We then meet Charles, our second cowboy companion, who took the lead to solve the food problem by suggesting we go out for a hunting session, and if we fail, we are to eat Mr. Pearson.
If needs be, we can eat you. You're the fattest.
Cannibalism at its finest. We then discovered that Charles is injured,
You need to rest, Charles.
and we are to take the bow to go out hunting. With a bit of sarcasm and mounting our horse for the first time, we set out to hunt for food. This game looks beautiful. And I was doing some dumb movements while horse riding. The horse goes.
I'm okay. From this hand.
Mind you, this is the first time I was playing this game and the first impressions were quite overwhelming for me. From the conversation Charles and Arthur had, we learned that a lot has happened in Blackwater and they all had to escape north, ultimately getting stuck in the storm we are in right now. A short cutscene later, we arrive at the place we are to hunt for animals and Charles turned into Sherlock Holmes for a second. We were instructed to bring out the bow from the horse, where I learned that your long arm, shoulder and back weapons are stored on your horse. Quite convenient if you ask me. A couple of minutes later, Charles taught us to see the tracks of wild animals using the eagle eye. This technique came out to be quite useful down the line, you'll see. We tracked the deer down to where it was and I discovered something new. Wait, what? You can change the camera too? That's... Oh, we are living in 2023, man. Grow up. After that somewhat new discovery in the game, we tracked down the deer and one swift shot from the bow.
Nice.
As soon as we got him, Charles set us up to find another one. How convenient. Using the newfound powers, I tracked down the second deer, bowed him down, picked him up and learned a new mechanic in the game. H2 whistle for your horse? Oh what? We'll call our horse Dingus for now, because we had no option to rename him at the moment. We stowed the deer onto Dingus's back and then we discovered the first mechanic in the game that I absolutely loved. What? We can pat the horse? Let's go. Turns out patting increases your bonding with the horse, something that we definitely will be using a lot in the run. Then we mount up on Dingus, catch up with Charles and start heading back towards our base. I learned something interesting about a gang called the O'Driscolls.
I've heard a lot of talk about them. Well, we've been scrapping over scores with them for years. Big gang. Nasty sons.
We stumbled across a bear. However, Charles suggested that we should be on our way. But I had other plans. Bear meat sounds nice, right? We could definitely take him down. Can we? Famous last words, to be honest. I restarted back at the checkpoint, and while returning back to the camp, I learned that Arthur has been with the gang for 20 years, with Dutch being their leader and Hosea their brains. A few moments later, we arrived at our destination, watched our horse take a poop, and dropped the white-tailed deer at Pearson's, where we started a cutscene and met Uncle.
What a surprise. Found a camp rat loitering around in the kitchen.
Is that any way to greet an old friend? I feel like we haven't spoken for days.
I do my utmost to avoid.
Arthur then shooed his uncle off, and the men took a shot of Nimi rum to keep their sanity, as Pearson says. He goes on to ask me to skin the animal we brought in a couple of minutes earlier, and that is what we did, resulting into him calling me a butcher and learning how to sell or trade these animal skin at shops in different towns. I then quickly understood that I did not understand the game and clicked help. After reading through the long paragraphs, I was more confused than the time I started and quickly got back to the game. I think we'll learn best at the game progresses, right? I opened up the map and was greeted with a huge landscape covered by fog with the icon which indicated the next possible mission. I then closed the map and greeted Javier, our trusty cowboy companion number 3, and started the next mission, Old Friends.
Up with you boys because I thought you liked action. Couple of days on the lam, you lot have all turned yellow.
We then are introduced to Micah, Bill, and Lenny, our trusty cowboy companion number 4, 5, and 6, respectively. Micah punches Bill, and finally we are introduced to the leader, Dutch.
Stop it! Now! You fools punching each other when Como Driscoll's needing punching hard. You want to sit around waiting for him to come find us? All of you, we got work to do. Come on.
Turns out the O'Driscoll gang is led by Com O'Driscoll, and they are out to kill us all because of something Dutch did a long time ago to settle scores, and boy do they harass us in the campaign. You'll see. Arthur goes on to say this dialogue which I liked a lot.
You always said revenge is a luxury we can't afford.
That
This
is
the right
some
call,
profound
Arthur.
knowledge if you
Take
ask me.
this.
Dutch then hands us a gun and a lasso and proceeds to tell us about the train we are about to loot and him being too old to live this life.
I'm getting too old for that life. Mr. Matthews, Mr. Smith, Mr. Pearson, would you please look after the place? There are O'Driscolls about.
I opened up the compendium, the information bank so to speak, and was greeted by yet another cutscene. We found horse tracks and assumed that the O'Driscolls are close. Arthur wanted the feud between Dutch and the O'Driscolls to end, and this is what he had to say.
This feud between you and him needs to be put to rest, one way or another. It will be.
Some things I can forgive.
So that's the blood feud between these guys. Rightly so. Turns out Dutch killed one of the O'Driscoll's brother and Combe killed his wife Annabelle. Rest in peace, Annabelle. We then moved to the edge of the cliff where Dutch told everyone about their jobs for the camp we were about to raid, and I joined with Dutch to overlook the area. We saw Combe O'Driscoll and a man running like a penguin towards him. Look at him. We'll get to him soon enough, and this is what Dutch said after.
All right, let's go pay our old friends a visit.
I explored the different options the weapon wheel had to offer and picked the carbine repeater and a revolver. I then pat Dingus a couple of times before heading out to their camp through a long curly passage down a mountain where I almost fell down. We reached the base of the camp where Arthur and Dutch debated upon who should take the lead for the raid we were about to do, and I was given the choice to select. Being new to the game, I gave the command to our trusty gang, and this is what I had to say.
You make the move.
Let's see what they do here.
All right, on me. Good luck.
What? This is what I was about to do. Why? Give the player a choice if you are going to full set it anyway. I kept forgetting that you had to click 2 times to shoot first and chamber the bullet on the second click to shoot again. However, we got some good headshots, followed by some slow motion shot of the final enemy. I didn't know we had bullet time. That's so cool. I was then given the option to loot, and I proceeded to loot every one of these O'Driscolls because why not? Let's loot him because he ain't gonna be using this anytime soon. While looting, we were ambushed by yet another wave of enemies, but this time I was aware of the mechanics of shooting in this game and cleared the wave pretty easily. Then, I was given the option to advance towards the resistance we were facing or defend where we were at the moment. And since we love to full send everything, I decided to advance.
I say we go at the bastards.
A quick gunfight later, we proved to come out victorious, and Dutch instructed us that we are going back to the camp where I was given time to loot the bodies. Ignoring the constant reminder that we need to leave, I looted almost half the bodies but came too close to Dutch, which triggered the next event, and that was to search a small shed of explosives and loot. We quickly uncovered what we had to find, and this cutscene played.
Here. This looks good. What do you think, Bill?
Looks fine. Smells good.
Come on. Did we get everything?
Think so, boss? Found this on one of them.
Thank you.
This is perfect.
Oh, yeah? Interesting. This is something about the train they was gonna rob. A Mr. Leviticus Cornwall.
That name will haunt us in the later part of the game. Pretty interesting how things connect in this game if you ask me. However, you will have to wait to understand that. We then completed the cutscene and I looted all the bodies before joining up with the gang to head back to the camp, where Dutch called us outlaws and rubbed the salt on the old rascals. Riding back home, we encountered the penguin walkman, which I humbly took on the responsibility of bringing back home alive. I was taught how to lasso, however the chase ended up being quite longer than I expected. I lassoed the penguin walk guy and discovered the button to hog tie. I then picked him up and dropped him into the snow because I love snow, and also discovered that you can loot him while he was in the snow. Never waste an opportunity, right? I then picked the old rascal, snapped him on the back of my horse, pat my horse 20 times and off we go back to the camp.
What's your name, boy?
I don't know.
You don't know your name?
We arrived at the camp, picked up the old rascal, and you are in for some serious troubles, man.
You found a little shit, did you?
We found him indeed. Dutch then decides to starve the dude because he won't blurt out the secrets right now. Pretty brutal if you ask me. And went back into his wooden shack to plan on the train heist. A few days later.
It's been a bad few weeks, but Dutch being Dutch, he is busy making plans, and Dutch being Dutch, those plans involve robbery and dreams.
Some interesting journalist session of Arthur, followed by Swanson, our trusted cowboy companion number 7, who likes to be respected, and John, the one who got smarter when wolves ate half of his brains, also trusty cowboy companion number 8. Dutch then walks into the scene stating,
I think it's time for the train.
that sequence introduced us to his family and trusty cowboy companion number 9 and 10, Abigail, John's wife, and Jack, his son. They had a nice talk and we set out for the train heist, where Dutch talked about how we are going to go about it when Hosea, our trusty cowboy companion number 11, interrupted us stating,
Why are we doing this? Weather's breaking, we could leave. I thought we was lying low.
that I thought too, my friend. However, I am not here to play Euro Truck Simulator, and Dutch thinks the same, stating the camp wants money and everything they have is back at Blackwater. The story of Blackwater thickens. Hosea later informed us about Leviticus Cornwall being a problem.
Leviticus Cornwall's no joke, Dutchie.
A quick nod by Arthur and off we go to the train heist. We were accompanied by Dutch, Micah, Javier, Lenny and Charles. A proper hunting party. Dutch was handing out instructions to everyone up until a cutscene played, which later transported somewhere less snowy, where he again gave everyone a proper introduction and called us a crew.
This is what I call a crew. Micah Bell, Charles Smith, Arthur Morgan, Javier Escuela, and what about young Lenny here? always the first man on his horse.
Micah asked about the money that the gang had left in Blackwater, to which Dutch said to trust him with his plans. While all this was happening, we reached the railroad, where Bill was tasked to place bombs on the railway track, and I was tasked to see if everything was okay. So I head down to Bill and insisted in helping him connect the wires to the detonator.
Just unspool the wire and then attach it to said detonator.
With that done and a bandana on, we had to wait for the train. This is getting very exciting.
Good luck, all of you. You all know what to do.
Here we go.
Yep, that's right. I know you expected this. How about we not be like Bill and detonate the like and subscribe button? I also appreciate that. Thank you. We jumped on the train where Javier fell off the roof because he didn't have woodland shoes and Lenny was dangling on the other side of the train. We pulled him up at the last second and off we go, looting a train. Lenny dropped down into the cabin while I traversed ahead and thought of a sneaky idea. Can we be sneaky about this one? Oh, absolutely not. He heard us the moment we dropped down. Well, that worked somehow. I almost shot Lenny and continued up the train where I took down some more enemies with my revolver instead of my rifle because I was too caught up by all the things happening around me. I shot a cap off of a guard's head and proceeded to stop the train where the driver hit me with a shovel to the face. With almost no front teeth, Arthur won the boxing match and threw the driver off of the train, finally stopping the train. Some more guards came out of the train and you know what happened to them. I then proceeded to loot all of them before nudging into triggering the cutscene once again. Well, that probably was not supposed to happen. Dutch then threatened the folks in the last cabin and they say they work for Leviticus Cornwall.
I work for Leviticus Cornwall.
Come on, boys.
We got our orders.
Okay, you asked for it.
Visibly confused, Dutch asked us to shoot at the doors of the cabin like mad idiots and Arthur did this sick move. Did you see that? That was sick. Dutch then instructed us to place dynamite on the doors of the cabin to blow them up and that is what we did. Inside were 3 folks and a good looking train cabin which we obviously looted. Arthur then found some bearer bonds which Dutch could sell and get us a sweet profit in some days, and we were left to our own with 3 of the folks we captured earlier. I accidentally killed one and left the other 2 on the train and sent them away on their way. We start day 3 with moving the entire camp to Horseshoe Overlook near a town called Valentine, one of the many towns we will be visiting soon enough. Arthur was paired with Hosea to ride the wagon over to our new camp and a cutscene played to shorten the time it took to reach the place. The cutscene ended with the gang entering a forest with almost no snow, quite an upgrade if you ask me, and while crossing the river, the wheel came out. That is indeed unfortunate.
Let's take a look.
We fixed the wheel and as we were about to leave, we saw 3 men on top of a hill. I still didn't understand who they were, but Hosea waved to them and said this.
Poor bastards. We really screwed them over down here. Come on, let's not push our luck.
What happened?
Well, get in. I'll tell you.
And boy did Hosea had a story. Apparently the men we looked at earlier were Indians, who I'm assuming the government kicked them out of their own lands. Sorry for your loss, man. Then we chatted about Charles' history, we revealed some of Arthur's story, and along with some pondering over what has happened to Dutch among Hosea and Arthur. Hosea then gifted me some ginseng, which I assumed to be used in crafting, and we reached our new base. Javier hopped onto the back of the wagon and in we went to our new camp. It had a lovely view, not gonna lie. However, we were pulled into business as usual as there I met Strauss, an individual who is a pain in my buttocks, if I say that for censorship, and also our trusty cowboy companion number 12. Dutch then gathered everyone around and it was time for his speech, where he told everyone to earn their keep at the camp and find work in the town close by. He also ended on the note that the camp gets a slice of whatever you earn. Fair enough. We then are greeted by Mrs. Grimshaw, who tags us along to our tent. also the place where we rest. A hearty conversation later, she immediately changed the tone of her voice.
Miss Jackson, I've seen shit with more common sense than you. Do it
Oof, that was one hell of a change. Arthur then proceeds to light a matchstick from his shoe, light a cigarette, and we end our first chapter of the game. We are cruising through this game. Chapter 2, Horseshoe Overlook. At the end of the cutscene, we are greeted to our camp, which is now our acting base at the moment. And it had supplies, food and medicine, I believe. I visited the different sections the base camp had, and while doing that, Dutch had something to say.
What's going on? Nothing. Nothing at all. For the first time in weeks. Nothing. We're free. We're free to plan our own futures once more.
I hope so, Dutch.
You kept the faith, Arthur. You always kept it.
And I ain't losing it now.
After a bit more exploring, I visited Pearson's makeshift shop to explore what all he had in store and donated some valuables to the camp fund as I did not know what that does. I then checked out the tent Miss Grimshaw set up for us and explored the different outfits that Arthur can wear during the run. I packed an outfit on the horse to change on the run and equipped the summer gunslinger for the time being. I pat Ardingus and decided to lead him to the next mission icon, our beloved uncle.
Whoa. Careful not to work yourself to death there, Uncle.
I was thinking.
Yeah, does it pay well?
Oh, eventually.
So, while the rest of us are busy stealing, killing, lying, fighting to try to survive, you get to think all day.
Well, it's a strange world we live in, Arthur Morgan.
Strange world indeed, uncle. Turns out we were going to our first town of the run, Valentine. And then this happened.
You gonna take the old man into town? Take us too?
And on we go to Valentine. On the way, uncle requested the ladies to sing us a song and it goes like...
I got a girl in Maryville. Can't be screwed 'cause she's too damn ill. So I don't go down there no more with this blue horse raised outside her door.
Peak cultural education. Halfway through the song, we were interrupted by a wagon driver who clearly was either too drunk or a fan of the Fast and Furious series. Eventually, the horses went crazy and detached from the wagon. Then, the ladies asked,
Is one of you gonna get that fella's horse?
Oh, I got lumbago. It's very serious.
I walked over to the man who had a beard like one of those COVID masks and he asked me to bring his horseback, which I did pretty easily. He called Arthur a gentleman and on the way to the town, this is what Arthur said.
To be honest, if you lot hadn't been here, I probably would have robbed him.
Well, you did.
My thoughts exactly. We reached the town in a short couple of minutes and uncle suggested I visit the local sheriff's office to pick up some bounties. I parked our ride near a stable and the ladies went off to do their thing while me and uncle were tasked to go to the local store. Uncle then proceeded to tell me that he was called One Shot Kid, which I somehow highly doubted. We then entered the local shop where I browsed through the items available for purchase. I brought some basic provisions for Arthur and left the store where uncle already had a bottle in his hand, which he passed over to me for a shot and we both passed out. How ironic. A couple of minutes later, Mary Beth woke us up from the coma we were in and shared information about a train that we could potentially target. We were interrupted when Tilly was caught in a sticky situation and I went over to investigate. Turns out the man knew Tilly and when called out, he tried to defuse the situation, to which I responded with pointing a gun to his head. That worked and he fled, but I followed him to make sure. Then Karen went missing. I went into the hotel to inquire about her and the receptionist pointed me towards 2B, a room on the first floor. I missed my mark and entered in a room with an unpleasant view. I am sorry man, that was an honest mistake. However, Arthur is now scarred for life. I kicked in the door Karen was in and punched the living light out of the drunken man, finally putting him to sleep by banging him over the fireplace. Arthur inquired about Karen and she was visibly shook. However, the situation turned out to be okay. We stepped out and a stranger recognized Arthur and said,
Weren't you in Blackwater a few weeks back?
Me? No, sir. Ain't from there.
Oh, you were. I definitely saw you with a bunch of fellers.
That is correct, my friend. We were in Blackwater a couple of weeks back. However, when I went to confront the man, he ran away, which led me to steal a horse and follow the man. He took some wild turns while running away. However, we stopped at a cliff where his horse threw him off. Hanging by his fingers on the edge of the cliff, I was given the choice to throw, question, or kill. I decided to question him, however, he insisted I save him first and talk later. I found that to be sensible and pulled him up. Turns out you increase your honor when you do these kinds of acts. The stranger introduced himself as Jimmy Brooks and gifted us a pen, which led us to Arthur delivering the most badass threat ever.
But I'm not a good man, Jimmy Brooks. Not usually. You see, I was in Blackwater. I kill people. And maybe I should have killed you. Should I have killed you, Jimmy Brooks?
Jimmy Brook might have popped bricks that day. All in all, the situation was resolved pretty efficiently. We returned back to the town we were in and I visited the sheriff's office. Uncle mentioned a couple of minutes earlier.
Well, looky here. Maybe this is our man.
You a bounty hunter, mister?
Maybe. It depends.
Well, I'm guessing you ain't here to pass the day, turn yourself in, or discuss the finer points of county law.
That is indeed true. The sheriff then pointed us towards a poster and gave some information about who he is. Turns out he was the old Christian Bale from the movie American Psycho, or at least his relative, because the man was responsible for a lot of murders. I wanted some time off of the main missions, mainly to explore, so I thought, why not? I patted the stolen horse and off we go to the location marked on the map. Upon reaching the place, I assumed the culprit to be on the other side of the river, and conveniently, there was a man on his horse passing by. So I did what any sensible player would. I crossed the river and lassoed the stranger. Turns out he wasn't the culprit I was after. I then hogtied the stranger and looted what he had on him, and that's when I saw the bounty I was after, sitting on the edge near a fireplace.
Alright then.
So that's where he is. Knowing where to go from here, I was confused about what to do with the stranger I had hogtied. I decided something completely random. Can we throw this man into the river? Will he drown? Curious to know the answer to this question, that is exactly what I did. The answer to that is obvious, however, we now know where our culprit is. So, I swam back to the other side of the river, walked a few meters and confronted our bounty. The cheeky man was about to run away when Arthur reeled him in with a fake story to actually identify this man. You cannot hustle a hustler, man. Grow up. Once we had proof, we pulled a gun on the man and he fell down the edge of the cliff and... Oh no, don't fall down. You guessed it, the bounty fell into the river and we had to save him to turn him in. So I followed the man along the river, listening to him call out help until we reached the base of the river with calm water. I was able to lasso the man and bring him in to the shore. I hogtied him, slapped him on the back of my horse and off we go back to the sheriff's office. The sheriff was shocked at such a quick delivery. The things you do to earn money, eh? He then instructed us to place the bounty inside a cell, which we did, and earned ourselves $50 for the job. Quite an easy job if you ask me. I left the sheriff's office to continue on the story mission close by. We entered into a cutscene where Arthur had a word with some woman and boy, he is a womanizer. We all took a shot of what I assumed to be whiskey and Arthur inquired about Bill, and this is what happens next.
Hey! There he is! Watch where you're going! Take it easy,
Are you about to
pal.
kiss that guy
Take
or
it
punch
easy,
him?
huh?
Out of nowhere, a fight starts and we were introduced to the fighting mechanism in this game. Sort of like a tutorial, but the tutorial ended real soon when Tommy entered the fight. When I was watching Tommy descend down the stairs, a man hit me with a chair. I obviously broke his nose, but when I tried to fight Tommy, he flung me out the window like I was some paperweight. I now had to take this seriously because boy, he was good at boxing. Eventually, I came out on top and started sending punch after punch to Tommy when I was interrupted by a stranger who told me to stop before he dies. A good call indeed. As we were about to enter the store, this happened.
Making new friends again, I see, Arthur.
Look who we found sniffing about.
Josiah Trelawney.
The very same.
Well,
That, my friends, is our trusty cowboy companion number 30, who has a very peculiar accent and a way with words. Trelawney greeted the other outlaws and informed us about our popularity in Blackwater. We were famous, but all in the wrong terms. However, he also informed us about Sean, our trusty cowboy companion number 14, who was caught by the bounty hunters but was being transported to another location. He informed us of the location and Dutch asked me to watch my face and join the others. I washed my face, went back into the salon to loot the people we just punched, but to my surprise, they did not have an option to loot. These guys do not have anything on them or what? Why am I not able to loot them? Confused at what I had to witness, I left the camp empty-handed and returned back to the camp. On the way back, I met some interesting fellows who said some things that I did not like.
I don't think you should just be wandering around here, friend.
I went on to shoot both of them O'Driscolls and of course looted their bodies. Then I went on an hour-long spree checking everything I had in my weapons wheel. Turns out I had some icons in the left part of the screen that I can increase or decrease based upon the consumables I had from the screen. Quite convenient if you ask me. I ate some canned kidney beans which increased the health and the stamina symbol. I then mounted my horse and travelled back to the camp where I greeted Bill and checked out the fireplace. Turns out the fireplace is also the place where you can craft certain items like cooked food, tonics, ammo and much more. I cooked a plain venison and ate it, which refilled some of my missing stats and went back to Hosea, who asked me if I was interested in going hunting.
You want to go hunting?
what are you hunting? An elephant?
I wish. No. I saw a huge bear. One of the biggest I ever saw. I reckon nearly 1,000 pounds.
He also gave us a new horse, which we had to sell at the local towel stables. I took the saddle off of my old horse and placed it on the new one, and off we go to Valentine once again. When we arrived at the stables, Hosea went off to buy some bait for the bear we were about to tackle, and I was greeted with a man who had an amazing beard.
Hey, how can I help you?
At this point in time, I had no idea what stable did. So I did exactly that and thought that my horse had disappeared into thin air. So I had to buy a new horse. I decided to go for Morgan because that is the only horse I could afford at the moment, and I was greeted with the option to name him. I initially named him my horse but instead changed it to Boy because Arthur always calls his horse Boy. I thought that would be a nice touch as he complimented his name every time he pat or groomed the horse. Cheeky hack, to be honest. I skimmed through what the stables had to offer as upgrades for the horse, but I was short on money, so I explored the different sections they had to offer and we were back on our track to go on hunting with Hosea. While leaving, however, the shopkeeper gifted us with a new brush for the horse, or should I say Boy. By now you might have understood that I like horses and the increasing number of pats they get, but this time I was checking if Arthur actually calls him Boy. I mounted our Boy and off we go to O'Greg's Run, up in the mountains east of Cumberland Falls. How did I know this? Hosea mentioned it among a million other things that you do not want to know about. Then a cutscene started where it ended and we were far off from where we were started. While conversing with Hosea, I mentioned about the Son situation and told him that Javier and Charles are out there to scope out the area and I was about to join soon. Hosea then instructed us to catch a rabbit for us to eat. I whipped out my bow and here we are with a rabbit in our hands. I skinned the rabbit and put its skin in my bag and brought the meat over to Hosea. He suggested that we should build a camp here and I remembered I had an option in the weapons wheel to build a campfire. Hosea then instructed us to cook the rabbit by the fire we built out of thin air and then we proceeded to sleep till morning. We woke up the next day and I was greeted with a cup of coffee that Hosea offered us. What a kind man. Thank you. He then proceeds to tell us to make a bait for the bear we are about to take down, and I get down to crafting near the campfire. I made the bait, tore down the camp, pat my horse for 1,000 times and off we go hunting. We arrived at a nearby lake where we had to find traces of the bear to lay the bait. I used my eagle eye ability to track down different clues which led me to a path near some rocks. Hosea suggested that we split up and start looking for the bear, where I suggested that we put out the bait and wait for the bear to appear. I chose the most sane method and picked to place the bait to lure out the bear. While waiting for the bear, Hosea got curious as to whether the bait was working or not. So we checked on the bait, and this is what happened.
Got your knife? Easy. No, it's too close.
Slow-mo bullet time, baby. No. I figured it out on the verge of death. I spammed F like a crazy maniac to get out of the sticky situation and immediately shot all of my bullets on the attacking bear. I reloaded and shot at the running bear once again. That spooked me off of my chair, to be honest, but I was feeling furious after that defeat. We returned back to our old man Hosea, and this is what he had to say.
You're fine, old man.
Of course I'm fine. It's nothing. Nothing at all.
Thank you, I think. That was fun.
You know what, Arthur Morgan? I'm a little old and beaten up to be after the biggest game. You can have this.
What is it?
It's a map. A man in a bar gave it to me. Well, I stole it from him, but that's another story. He said it told him where to find some real big animals.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. You saved my life, Arthur. I think I'm going back to camp to lick my wounds. You coming, or you gonna track that monster?
Given the timing of the choice, I chose to stay to take the beast down. It was either him or me kinda situation at the moment, and I also noticed that I did not have a hat on my head. I picked up a plant and pat our good boy for some moral support, and this time took the carbine repeater with us to get after the spooky bear. I raced up the hill, following clues and tracks of the big old bear, and there he was, walking past the trees. I ate some baked beans and used my first miracle tonic to take on the spooky bear. Turns out the tonic helps you fortify your icons, sort of becoming immortal for a half minute or two. I crab walked my way to a nearby tree, which had a good angle at the bear, and rained bullet after bullet on his body. He ran up the mountain, but I was not gonna wait around this time. I wanted him badly. And then this happened. Let's go! It took ages, man, ages. Let's go. I approached the defeated bear and I was given the option to skin the bear. That is indeed what I did, and magically the bear turned into a bulky pig. That is not how skinning works. I then carried the skin over to our boy and stored it up on his back. Onward on a long journey back to camp. At this point in time, I had completely forgotten about my cap, and I bet you did too. However, the developers added an option in the wheel to equip the hat when you are mounted on a horse. Pretty convenient if you ask me. On my way to the camp, I encountered a strange group of men riding with a man stood upon their horse's back. He was yelling he's innocent, and I went to have a word with them. They seemed unresponsive, so I took them down and went over to the man who was stood on the back of the horse. I dropped the man on the ground and went to the horse to calm it down, but to my surprise, it kicked me and brought me down to the lowest health I have ever been except dying. Turns out our horses are stronger than armies of men. Pretty handy information to know. I then approached the stranger to help him out of the ropes, and he explained what's up.
They had me mixed up with my brother.
He also gave us a tip for a possible robbery. I went to loot the bodies of the men I shot earlier and mounted my horse to resume our journey back to the camp. I was interrupted yet again by an ongoing stranger who unfortunately had been a witness to murder, which I definitely did not do. So instead of Arthur speaking to him, his carbine repeater had a word with the stranger. I looted this man too and picked him up to throw him near the river nearby. On my way back, I stumbled upon the first man we shot to save the stranger, and while looting him, another man witnessed what I was doing and became a witness to the crime. So hard luck, man. And here we are. I picked up the witness's body and dumped it in a nearby slope of river, and finally I was on my way back to the camp. I got distracted by an acute placements of rock which read New Hanover, the street we possibly were in at the moment. On my way back to the camp, we arrived at the trapper who buys, sells and crafts using animal skin. A weird hobby indeed. He recognized the bear skin and congratulated me for defeating him. I went on to sell the bear to him and got a whopping $60 for its skin. What? $60. I also unlocked certain craftable items in the menu I was exploring, like the bear hunter set. 5-10 minutes of exploring later, I mounted back on our boy and off we go to the camp. And before I forget, we did pat our boy for 420 times to blaze the trails of this country. While heading back to the camp, I had the opportunity to witness some beautiful shadow and light work done by the clouds over the landscape we were cruising. That is some phenomenal work. I totally dig that. Not gonna lie. On our way back, we passed through Emerald Ranch and there we stumbled upon a dog. I assumed you can pet a dog too, considering you can pet a horse? Duh. I quickly got off our boy and right click on the dog to bring up its options. I saw and there it was. The option to pet. And pet is what we did. We then mounted back on our boy and headed towards the camp where we met a lady whose horse died on her. RIP that woman's horse. We picked up the horse, to which she thanked Arthur, and we left without saying goodbyes. Moving on, I had to appreciate the beautiful scenery. I mean, look at it. It looks majestic. We then arrived at our base where I had a word with Dutch, where he tells me to do the thing Arthur and me personally hate. Work for straws to collect debt. And I kid you not, those are one of the most boring missions ever. But we accepted them nonetheless. We then moved on to our penguin boy and we were given the options to threaten or antagonize him. I chose to threaten him because he was already starved. And you just have to watch this cutscene to understand the situation he was in.
I can't.
Boy. Whoa, hold your horses there. It seems the cat has got our friend here's tongue. I was thinking Mr. Williamson could have a word.
You ready to talk, boy?
I told you, mister. I told all of you. I don't know nothing, okay? They ain't no friends of mine. I just been ridden with them for a while.
Horse shit. You see, we heard that part, so how about you tell the truth? Dutch, what do you want me to do?
Hurt him, so the next time he opens his mouth, it is to tell us what is going on. Who am I kidding? One O'Driscoll's boys couldn't open his mouth, but he'd tell a lie. Screw it. Let's just have some fun. Geld him.
Yeah!
What's he doing? Where's he going?
Oh, don't worry. You're only balls, boy. Just gonna cause you trouble. You know, in Imperial Rome, eunuchs was among the happiest and most loyal of courtiers.
Oh, you're kidding me, right?
Of course.
You sick bastards! Oh, what do you want from me?
Well, you are gonna talk. The only question is now or after we got these little fellas off.
Okay, listen. I know where O'Driscoll was holed up, and you're right. He don't like you any more than you like him. He's at 6 Point Cabin. I'll take you there. Serious, I don't like him. I mean, I like him even less than I like you, no offense.
Oh, none taken.
Okay then, partner. Why don't you take a few of us up there right now? I got this, Dutch.
Those were some extreme measures. Not gonna lie. We were accompanied with John and Bill on the way to 6 Point Cabin with the penguin guy who almost got his doofus dropped to the ground. Bill then informed us of the throwing knives he slipped into my satchel, which were passed down to him by our semi-maniac leader, Dutch. After riding our boy for about 10 minutes,
Cabin's in the clearing down there.
we were greeted with yet another cutscene and we had to use our stealthy knives to go at it silently. We then were given the choice to do this stealth or go in guns blazing, to which I said, let's go Assassin's Creed on this one. Which worked to an extent because we managed to take them down. However, we were spotted doing that. I also forgot the rifle yet again, but we used our bow for this raid, which didn't hit like a revolver. So I changed to the revolver, took down a couple of them, and this happened.
You alright?
Sure. Thank you.
Surprised by what was happening in the game, we proceeded to search for Combe, but he ran away. We then doubt Kieran, but since he saved our life, we added him to the gang. Hence, trusty cowboy companion number 15, Penguin Man. After recruiting Kieran, he informed us about the money stashed away in the chimney, which I liked the sound of. And we investigated, finding a double-barreled shotgun, which I immediately cleaned, increasing its overall stats, and the not-so-hidden stash inside the chimney. While looting, I became wanted by the law. Makes sense. A bunch of enforcers were on their way, but we evaded them, no problem. After dodging the wanted level we had, I pat our boy. This will never get old. Never. Mounted him and off we were on our way back to the camp to pick up a new mission because a lot of characters were introduced to me in a very short amount of time and I wanted to know. While riding, however, we entered Valentine and I thought, why not pick up another bounty? The sheriff guided us to the poster on the wall and there she was, Ellie Ann Swan, aka $25. I stashed the poster in my bag and off we go to hunt her down, which was pretty easy considering the sheriff already gave us the whereabouts of her location. We mount on our boy, mark the location on the map for our camp and off we go riding, yet again. I was distracted by the local gun store and since we had money, I had to go check it out. I bought 10 arrows, 3 gun oil and an upgraded bandolier and the upgraded gun belt with the upgraded holster and that was it. With shopping done for probably the next few weeks, we were back onto riding our boy where this happened.
With your goddamn games! Hey, you leave her be!
That resulted into putting a bullet between his eyes, but we solved the case pretty quickly. I looted the body and finally we were back on the trail towards the camp and thank God this time we didn't have any distractions. I walked over to Dutch to continue the storyline mission and this happened.
Well, feels like we are finally getting back on our feet.
You, find a buyer for them bonds we stole?
Not yet, but Jose is working on it.
When we heading west?
Soon? I don't know.
Feels like things have changed. The whole world's changed. But they don't want folk like us no more. We're being hunted.
We are smarter than them. Only the feeblest of men take jobs in the government.
I hope so.
Trust Dutch, Mr. Morgan. You have to.
They got Micah! Dutch! Arthur!
What's going on?
They got Micah. He's been arrested for murder. He was in Strawberry.
It's okay, son. Breathe.
They nearly lynched me. They got Micah and the sheriffs in Strawberry. And there's talk of hanging him.
Here's hoping.
Arthur.
What? The fool brought this on himself. You know my feelings about him, Dutch.
You think I can't see past his bluster to the heart inside? He is a fine man.
No, I ain't saving that fool.
I can't go. My face will be all over West Elizabeth. I am asking. He would do it for you.
I don't think he would, but fine, all right.
Arthur.
You okay, Lenny?
Yeah, of course I'm okay.
You don't seem okay.
You take that kid into town. Valentine, not Strawberry. Get him drunk. And Arthur, no crazy business.
I've given that up.
And you get Micah out of that jail.
That's right. Though Micah was arrested, we were instructed by Dutch to take Lenny to Valentine to loosen up, which means boost time. On the way to Valentine, Lenny told us about why Micah was arrested by the police. Turns out, Micah shot someone in the bar over nothing. Crazy guy if you ask me. But on the bright side, Lenny ran away and came back to inform us. We reached Valentine, hitched our boy, pat him a million times, and here we are. The pub, aka the saloon. Once inside, considering what happened the last time we were here, we lean over the bar and this happened.
Just one or two, right, Arthur?
Of course, just a drink. No big drama. Can we get a couple beers, please?
I don't want no trouble.
You'll get none from me. I was defending myself.
Tommy, he's...
He'll be fine. Here, have one for yourself.
Thank you.
Micah seemed to know a lot of people. That was the problem.
How you mean?
I mean, I done seen a lot of crazy stuff, but Micah...
A lot of crazy stuff.
Will you shut up?
Will you shut up?
Be quiet, buddy.
Oh, they're dullards. My lord, you men is dull.
Leave this fool alone.
At this point, I wanted to test what happens when you don't select anything. But considering the bartender asked us not to cause any problem, I opted for charm.
Listen, buddy. You're a charming fellow. One of the best. But me and the kid here, we're trying to talk business, so could you possibly leave us alone? No offense intended.
Ain't no pleasing some folk. Just trying to be friendly.
And that was the last of that man. Arthur chugs the beer bottle, a shot of whiskey, another bottle of beer, and yet another shot of whiskey, and went over to the piano to enjoy the music and discovered that Lenny is nowhere to be found. Turns out Lenny was on the first floor of the saloon, with his arms up in the air for some reason. That's right, we chugged another bottle of beer. Lenny asked us some profound questions to which I had answered, and again, Lenny was nowhere to be found. I spotted him standing on the counter about to fight a couple of men, and as I walked down the stairs, this happened.
Leave the kid alone, you goddamn animals!
Who do you think you're talking to?
Nobody. I'm talking to nobody.
What did you say? What? I said, what did you say?
Another fight?
Shut
What?
up, mister! Yeah, shut your mouth, mister.
What's happening? What's happening? I found myself outside the salon taking a piss, but when we entered the salon, a lot had changed. The heck is this? Why does everyone look like Lenny? I was stoned out of my mind. Seeing Lenny in everyone made me confuse myself in real life too. Well done, Arthur. Wherever and whenever I walked over to somebody, they all had weird scrambled Lenny in their names. But when I greeted them, they turned back to normal. Quite interesting. I greeted almost everybody in the salon, however, Lenny was still missing from the scene. When I tried walking up the stairs, this happened. Get slapped. I swear. What's happening? I swear.
You're a good friend to me, Arthur.
When we were about to cheers, the charming man came back and stole the drink right off of our hands. Arthur was then about to drown the dude, but I thought otherwise and he punched us. Lenny came back out and we laughed our butts off. The guy I let escape earlier brought in the law to catch us. Lenny was caught, but we managed to run away from the scene. We start day 7 by waking up under a tree with a very nice view and puking everything we had in our stomachs shortly after. I drank some more bourbon to manage the hangover from yesterday's party with Lenny and ate some canned strawberries which restored health and stamina bar by quite a number. I had no idea where I was, so I opened up the map and found an interesting new mission. Reverend Swanson? The priest? That's right, that was indeed the priest from the camp we met earlier along with John. When that was done, I ran over to the mission location, slammed into a bar, and there he was. The priest was playing poker, and when confronted, this is what he had to say.
I took your advice, sir. I took your advice.
Then your god has finally deserted you. What you talking about?
I took your advice, sir. I have removed myself from Morpheus's embrace. No more shall I sink, sir. I am free. I am free.
You don't seem free, friend. You seem drunk.
Sit down, Reverend. We ain't finished.
You ain't finished. Look at him. He's finished.
None of us forced liquor down his throat. Friend, I just wanted to play.
Now, firstly, we ain't friends. Don't make no mistake on that subject. Now, secondly, he can't hardly see, let alone reason. Now, reasoning ain't never been one of my strong points neither, but seeing I do just fine. You want to step outside or deal with business here?
I just want him to finish the game.
Why can't we all just get along? These are good men, Arthur. They're children of God. They're children of God.
Seems like everybody loves the good old alcohol. We then continued the poker game in Swanson's place, which I obviously won because you cannot have a more poker face than Arthur himself. And as I was about to leave, this happened.
Come on, you. Let's move along. Where is he?
Who?
The Reverend. Where'd he go?
I don't know.
Ah, shit. Excuse me, gentlemen.
That's right, Swanson was missing yet again. I walked over to these fellow gents and asked if they had seen a drunk idiot. They pointed me in a direction and off we go in that direction. However, conveniently I spotted our boy close by. So we mounted him and off we go towards a marked area where we find Swanson in a fight with a random stranger. I was going to shoot the man, but since he didn't have a gun, I instead opted for a fair fight. I ate a major punch to the face, blocked his left and right jabs and delivered the final blow right to his chin. Sit down, big boy. Let's go. As we were about to loot the big guy, someone spotted us and turned into a witness. And by now, you guys can assume what happened to him. As we were done dealing with the witness, we spotted Swanson on the train tracks walking towards the bridge. He really was on some strong alcohol, friends, not gonna lie. We hopped onto our boy, and when close, I ran towards the man where he stuck his foot in the track the exact time the train was on the way. Classic.
I like this place and want to stay.
Get your foot out of here! Twist your leg, you drunken bastard! Got it! Come on!
We pushed Swanson off of the train tracks and he forgot where he was. We carried him over to the camp, hitched the horse and carried Swanson to his resting place, where we were greeted by Mrs. Grimshaw.
You better sleep your way to salvation, my friend.
What happened?
Just the usual.
Poor bastard.
Exactly.
I then ran over to one of the most irritating men in the game, Ross.
You know how it is. People is happy to borrow off someone like me, but more enthusiastic paying back to someone like you.
Of course.
That's right. Strauss is a scammer who scams only those individuals who are not able to pay him back. Kinda cheeky if you ask me. We picked up a list of 3 individuals who owed money to the camp. Chick Matthews, Mr. Robel and Miss Lily. He left us off on the note that debtors belong in prison and we'll be doing them a big favor. Interesting idea nonetheless. We changed our outfit, pat our boy, and off we go to collect debts. I decided to go to the closest debtor first because riding in this game sure takes up some time. I arrived at our destination soon, slid down a mountain slope and knocked on Mr. Robel's door.
Knock, knock, Mr. Robel.
Turns out he did not speak English. However, that did not stop Arthur from collecting the debt that he owed us. After a few punches to his face, he revealed that he did not have the money he owed us, but instead he had something of equal value in the house. I was instructed to search the house, but I noticed Mr. Robel to hide something near the lit candle. I looted his gold ring, made Mr. Robel count sheep in his sleep, and continued to loot him and his house. Inside one cabinet, I discovered a watch and an earring along with some Robel's valuables which covered the debt. Once done, I carried Robel, stowed him on the back of our dear boy, traveled to a nearby cliff, and no evidence means no crime has happened. Let's go. I'm turning into a sick man now. I mounted our boy once again and was on my way to the second debtor when this happened. That is right, we were ambushed by some men from the O'Driscoll gang. Little did they know what was going to happen to them in a short while. I looted their bodies and was back on my way to track the second debtor. And along the way, I met a prisoner who asked us to shoot his chain, which we did, setting him free of the shackles where he did a little dance. He got scared when he realized I still had a gun pointed to his face, but never mind that. We hopped onto our boy and without any more distractions, we reached the second debtor's location where I saw a distant dog. I pat the dog till my heart's content and we moved on to ask the stranger about Chick Matthews.
You Chick Matthews? Oh, no, not me, sir. That's the greenhorn over there. And there he goes.
So long, long shot.
He fled from us, resulting into a long chase down the hills and through the trees near some railway tracks where we finally lassoed the man. I hogtied the man and looted him, where I discovered a treasure map that contained the location of the money Matthews had stashed away. I ran all the way to the place where he stashed his money because I did not take our boy for the chase. Instead, some random horse, who turns out ran away when we shot at Mr. Matthews. Poor horse. I found the hidden stash and recovered the money from debtor number 2. I marked the third debtor's location on the map and started running towards it until I noticed a trail of smoke in the air very close to us. Approaching the man, he immediately turned hostile, to which he met his demise. Good for us because we were in dire need of a horse and he had one. I looted his body and his camp of valuables, and lo and behold, our boy had returned. We pat our boy, mounted him, and off we were to our last location, Miss Lily. Reaching the final location, I approached Miss Lily, who obviously did not have the money, but Mr. Cooper had other ideas.
Except a lessening damn murders!
We punched the living light out of that man, and Lily had given all the debt's money to him. So after looting him, we recovered our final goal. On the way back to the camp, I shot this man because he had a nice looking horse, so I took it with me back to the camp. I then returned the debts to the camp, placing all the money in a red box and received a cut from the completed mission. I explored the different options the ledger had, and turns out we can upgrade the camp, buy the money we donate to the camp, and some more. I chose to add a new horse station, thinking it would automatically save a second horse that we brought in with us. We were then greeted by Mr. Strauss, where he told us about yet another debtor, and frankly, at this point I was thinking if I could avoid his missions, that would be great. I was on my way to the stables to save this horse, but instead was ambushed again by the O'Driscoll's gang. I knocked them all down and looted all their bodies. When I reached the stables, I removed the saddle from the white horse and placed it onto our boy, deciding it would be best to sell the white horse. I discovered that I somehow had owned 3 horses. I chose the black bulky boy and renamed him to Good Boy. I then sold some feathers and meat to the local butcher, earning me a couple of dollars. I pat Good Boy for a good number of times before plotting a waypoint to Mr. Strauss's large debtor we had to collect the money from. While traveling over to the location, I stumbled across a family who was under gunfire from thugs like myself. I quickly took out my rifle and went over to help them. When the situation was resolved, the father walked over to me to explain what was going on.
Those bastards been turning the screw on me from day one, saying I gotta pay them protection money. I told them where to stick it.
Fair enough. I looted all the bodies that we just dropped to the ground and mounted our horse to reach our location. I confronted the man who owed us money, and this is what happened.
Mr. Thomas Downs, you owe me money.
Oh, no, I'm...
Oh, come here, you maggot.
Please, sir.
Really? Threaten me, would you?
Please. The family, sir, please.
I don't care about your family. We ain't your idea of charity. Is that clear?
Thomas!
What are you looking at?
Thomas!
I said what you looking at, woman.
My husband isn't well. If we could just have more...
Like I said, we ain't nobody's idea of charity. Get us the money.
Sometimes even Arthur feels a little bad for his actions, and on the other hand, I was devastated at the actions of Strauss. When the cutscene ended, I was back at the camp, which was pretty convenient. I hitched our Good Boy and went over to Strauss to have a word with him, and this is what he had to say.
Ah, how did you get on?
Not so good. He's almost dead. And they seem more or less destitute. You were a fool for lending them the money.
Well, people who aren't desperate don't seem so interested in my propositions.
Of course.
You're a crazy man, Strauss, not gonna lie. That's messed up on so many levels, man. While I was donating some items to the camp fund, Swanson was singing in the background.
I fell and broke my poor lobster. The watch from my fob was picked, sir. Never is gone anymore.
And I got an achievement for donating $250 to the camp. Quite brilliant. I then decided I wanted to explore something new and placed a new marker on Javier's mission, which was in a fogged out area. I pat our Good Boy for a good number of times before leaving towards Javier's location. On the way to the marker, we stumbled across this bright man. This man is the renowned explorer Maximo Cristobal Valdespino, who has also had many women. He had nothing interesting in particular, except some information about gold hidden by some gang around in this area, until he decided to sell us a treasure map. He was asking for $12 for the treasure map, but we robbed him and I took the treasure map from him basically for free. A short while later, I arrived to Strawberry. Intrigued by the new town, I explored the butcher, the local post office, the general store where I sold some of the items I had in my satchel, and I also bought some cheese, some canned strawberries and salmon along with baked beans. I was done with the shopping spree, but I pat our Good Boy and started the mission to rescue Micah from the jail.
Yep. Hello, sir. I've come from Blackwater. I'm on the trail of a dangerous gang. Colm O'Driscoll. Heard you had some sort of incident.
We don't deal with bounty hunters around here, son.
I was just wondering if I could get a description.
Well, they weren't friends. They got in a fight, 2 men got killed. Now, one of them's an idiot, the other's some kind of dumb mick, so maybe them's your boys. You can look right enough when we hang them.
After that rather short interaction, we heard Micah, and shortly after we found him, and he had some interesting things to say to us.
Hello, old friend. Had a good time, did you?
You going to get me out of here?
I ain't decided yet.
Real funny.
Oh, I ain't joking, cowpoke. I heard so much bluster out of your mouth these last 6 months. And now, I got an opportunity to watch you be silenced.
Well, you gotta do something.
Why?
I always looked up to you, Arthur.
Well, that's your first mistake. Listen, there's one little problem. There's only one of me, and there's a whole town full of people wanting to see you swing.
You got to do something, Arthur.
We were then instructed to place the hook from the iron donkey on the jail bars, and that is what we did. After that explosive extraction, we had to deal with some enforcers as we were about to escape, and Micah said he had some unfinished business in a town and we had to follow him, taking down half of the town we just entered. So much for a proper introduction. Micah then entered a house and was yelling out the name Skinny, while I was out looting everybody I can lay my hands on, ignoring what was happening in the background. What did happen was Micah shot him because he had his personal agenda that happened during the bar fight where he was arrested. We then proceeded to take down the remaining half of the town, where I shot someone in the butt and his goon ads. What a gang I ride with. Leaving all the loot behind for the first time, we had to mount on our good boy. Shooting the enforcers who were out to take us down, I used the shotgun for the first time in the game and boy did it pack some punch. After multiple waves of the enforcers, we were finally free, and along the way, Micah explained while he trained, and I would highly suggest that you look at the change in the weather plus what Micah had to say about the event we just witnessed earlier.
Who was that fella?
Skinny? Yeah, we ran together for a while. Did a bank job down south. Didn't end well.
I saw how it goddamn ended.
He was gonna let me hang.
I'm starting to wish I had. And you owe Linde, too. If he hadn't found us in time...
Yes, you will all be thanked profusely, I promise.
Yeah, well, you're lucky Dutchy's got your back. For some unknown reason.
Whoa! I think we finally lost him.
Well, I hope so.
I'm giving you a holster. My way of saying thank you.
And thank you. There I was, having a dull day only for you. To liven it up by letting me help you shoot up half a town.
You're a funny fella, Arthur. Real funny. Why you act all sour all the time?
Yeah, well, you ain't funny at all. So why you gotta act like the court jester?
All right, listen. I'm sorry, but we're family now. Arthur, you and me. Sons of Dutch. Makes us brothers. Sometimes... brothers make mistakes. I'm heading back to my little camp round back of Strawberry. Come see me. Maybe I can make things up to you.
You ain't heading back to Dutch?
No, I've been a bad boy, Arthur. I ain't seeing Dutch till I can bring him a peace offering. Bye now.
One hell of a cutscene if you ask me. However, on the bright side, we got a holster which enables us to draw two guns at the same time. Pretty handy. We start day 10 with patting our good boy, which led to an increase in bonding, and mounting him to ride towards our next mission marker, Javier Escuela. On my way there, I changed outfits to the gunslinger and a stranger attempted to rob us. Wrong choice, my buddy.
Hey, mister! Help me! How about we skip the small talk, eh?
I shot one more bullet because nobody touches our good boy except Arthur, and went on to pat him, eventually moving on to meet Javier, where I met yet another stranger who, after interacting with him, I discovered him to be a wildlife photographer. Conveniently, a coyote stole his bag, which we had to recover. I gave the bag back to our photographer friend Mason and bid our farewell, returning back to our good boy and a traffic jam. What amazing people in this town, man. Finally, we entered Blackwater, where we were wanted dead or alive, and we also met Javier and Charles overlooking the town, thereby starting our next mission in the campaign. And I think it is essential for you to understand what we were about to do, because things are about to get messy.
Where is that little Irish bastard?
I'm not quite sure. Trelawney's off trying to find out.
Has anyone been in the Blackwater, see how things lie?
Place is crawling with Pinkertons, bounty hunters, pictures of Dutch and Hosea.
Well, we got a lot of money sitting in that town.
And that's where it's gonna remain for now.
Why haven't they hanged Sean, I wonder?
I think he's bait. Well, they want to trial him publicly. Gentlemen, Sean is being moved up the upper Montana, then to a federal prison out west.
Damn. Well, we can't be rescuing people from some federal prison. We either rescue him now or cut him loose.
We're not cutting anyone loose.
Of course not.
Ike Skelding's boys are moving him to a camp nearby before handing him over to the government.
So, I guess we need to stop them before they get to camp. Charles, why don't you head up on the north side, and then we'll head up on the other side of the valley and meet you. That way we have them in either direction. Javier, Josiah, come on. Let's go see.
With that done, we mounted our horses and followed the river where we saw a boat, and then we followed the boat down to some camp where apparently the bounty hunters meet and transfer before continuing out west. Shortly after, the boat docked and we had our man Sean, our trusty cowboy companion number 14, in our sights. They were taking him up the canyon where we also sighted our boy Charles on the overlook, ready to pack some punch. With that being said, we head down the river where Trelawney suggested he will be the distraction while me and Javier do the dirty work. An absolutely brilliant idea. And that is what we did. I was to take the guy on the left and Javier the right. With a swift blow to the neck, we took out one, and to my surprise, we also took down the second. Close call indeed. Trelawney fled the scene and we went on to save Sean. There we fought a couple of guys with some very distant headshots, and I was feeling confident about this fight. Someone shot my hat off. Close call yet again. Pushing forward, I took down some more guys, looted them, and pushed out some more. We cleared the last wave of enemies which arrived on horses for a change, but that did not make any difference about their outcome. We then rallied up with Charles and pushed towards the bandit camp where we encountered yet another wave of enemies. Some more enemies coming out of the cabin and some more enemies on the edge of the rock. But we came out on top, and as always I ignored what we were tasked to do and went all to loot all the bodies before finally rescuing Sean. And
You know, you're a lot less ugly from that other angle, Arthur.
Come on.
Do we get a hug, Arthur? A warm embrace for a lost brother now found.
You know, nothing means more to me than this gang, the bond we share. It's the most real thing to me. I would kill for it, I would happily die for it. But in spite of all of that, I would have easily left you here to rot if Charles hadn't stopped me.
Sean called us a great man, and we decided to split up before heading back to the camp. When done with the cutscene, we pat our good boy, and I marked the location on the map to hunt for the next bounty, Ellie Ann Swan, aka $25. On the way to the bounty's location, we heard someone crying out for help, and turns out a woman was being kidnapped. We quickly tracked him down, shot one bullet, and rescued the woman. Easy stuff. She took the horse I was about to sell to the stables, but instead we mounted our good boy, and night fell, where we saw this amazing view and spotted a small bandit camp of O'Driscolls. So we looted and we were on our way to the bounty. We arrived at the location from across the river, and this happened. Should we take him down first? Let's do this. We are not allowed to shoot her, right? What do we do? Holy, that completely unexpected. That indeed was unexpected. The next time, however, we were more careful about how we approached this situation. We then picked her up and strode her on the back of our good boy. On the way back, she had an interesting theory which I probably think would not be suitable for the purposes of the video. However, we reached the sheriff's office where we dropped her off, finally collecting the $25 bounty reward. Good stuff. Once done with that, I had learned that there was some shady business going on in the back room of our doctor's office. We went over to investigate, meaning pointing a gun to the head and instructing the doctor to open up the back room. There were a bunch of O'Driscolls and a lady who almost killed us. That was close. And some local police officers who we evaded and ran over to our camp as soon as possible. Once there, we ate the stew Mr. Pearson cooked, and for the first time we went to sleep. When we woke up, we talked to Charles, who took us out to hunting, and this time we were to hunt for a big bison. We traveled over to the location Charles had in his mind, and we talked about bisons before bringing one down. I was hunting down one more just for safety when this happened. One is enough? When is one ever enough, Charles? The next time, however, we took down a bison, skinned the big boy, and took his horns along with us back to the camp. On the way back, Charles wanted to check something out. Turns out there were people in the area who were killing more than one bison, which drove me nuts because I thought I was the only one who should have been able to do that. We tracked down the folk who were doing this, and instead of Arthur having a word with the fellas, Charles took the lead on this one.
Did you fools shoot those bison?
What's your problem?
I said, did you fools shoot those bison? Calm down, you black or red bastard, whatever the fuck you are. Did you shoot them? Yes, we did. We shot them bison, we'll shoot you too if you don't get.
What business is it of yours? What? Wait.
It's that business of mine!
We went on to interrogate the man, who probably was in shock from seeing his friend fly from a shotgun to the chest, and he told us that they were being paid to plant the killings onto the Indians we discovered quite some time back. I let him go because he had a family and we looted his camp, completing the mission we started with Charles. Lovely news, to be honest. We then marked the location on the map to do a new mission, Hosea, and on we go towards him. We entered Emerald Ranch, and to my surprise I had a bounty of $238. Quite a number if you ask me. Eventually joining in with Hosea to start his story mission.
This is Seamus. He's our new partner.
I ain't no such thing.
Prospective new partner, if he likes us.
Liking ain't the problem. Trusting is, as I said. Keep your voices down. I don't want my boss hearing. This is a sideline.
Of course. Look at us. Honest as the day is long.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what. Let us prove ourselves.
Prove ourselves? To this clown? What you talking about?
Good day, Hosea. Good luck with your business dealings.
Listen, he's rough and ready and quick with his tongue, but I swear you can trust him and trust me.
I'm an old man.
You're not old, Seamus.
I'm old enough. And you know I ain't dead.
You don't trust idiots.
Exactly.
We're not idiots. Let us prove it to you.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
Arthur.
Old Bob Crawford and his boys just bought a beautiful stolen stagecoach from upstate. It's in their barn. Now you go get that, and then we can work together.
Who's old Bob Crawford?
An acquaintance of mine.
So you want us to take out your competition?
Well, he's not just an acquaintance, but a cousin. By marriage.
And that is indeed what we did, folks. Two men on their way to rob his cousin. By marriage. Strange family. Soon after we reached the location we were to rob, I followed Hosea to scope it out, and when given the option, decided it would be best to wait till nightfall before making our move.
Let's wait.
When night fell, we made our move and I peeked through some windows, assuming that the house is empty. But boy was I wrong on so many levels. You are not supposed to wake up, man. Sleep.
Oh, there's someone in the house.
We then proceed to loot their house and regrouped with Hosea, who was ready with the stagecoach. I drove the stagecoach like there's no tomorrow, eventually reaching our drop-off point, and this cutscene played, explaining that we can sell stagecoaches to this dude, and if we were to ever hijack one. Handy information. I rode back to the camp to donate the bison we skinned earlier, pat our good boy, and marked a new location on the map, Mary Linton. Oh look, we are already here. How convenient for you guys. We hitched our good boy, pat him some more, and on we go to approach Mary. And for the first time in the entire playthrough, I watched Arthur knock a door like it was meant.
Yes?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you, ma'am. Is Mrs. Linton in?
I'll go see.
Mrs. Linton, a caller for you.
Hello, Arthur.
Mary?
I
I heard you and your friends was around.
Okay. Where's what's his name?
Died.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Happened a while ago. Pneumonia.
Bad business.
Sure.
So, well, you've been made a widow and you come here looking for me, is that it?
No, ain't like that, Arthur.
Oh, okay.
Listen, Arthur, I'm... my family. I need your help.
You mean the family that always looked down on me? You want me to help them?
It's my little brother, Jamie.
I always liked Jamie, at least compared to the rest of them.
He's broken Daddy's heart.
Daddy has a heart.
Don't make me beg you, Arthur.
My money, my life, me. I wasn't good enough.
I'm sorry. We need your help real bad. Little Jamie's joined the Chelonians, that strange religious order.
Good for him.
They're quite mad, Arthur. They'll kill him. You're the only person he'd listen to.
So, I'm too rough to marry into your family, but it's okay to ask me to help in saving your family.
I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to help me, but I think of you often.
Long time ago now.
I'm begging you, Arthur.
I say let Jamie live Jamie's life and not the nightmare that his daddy dreamed up for him.
Jamie's so innocent, Arthur. Please, Arthur. Will you help me?
I let the game choose the choice for us because I felt inclined to deny that request, and that indeed is what the game chose anyway.
I'm sorry, Mary. I like Jamie, but you and me, after all that's happened, you're gonna have to find someone else to run your errands.
Okay. Arthur, I miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too. It's all in the past now.
Take care of yourself.
Sure.
After that rather heart-wrenching experience, we were on our way back to the camp where on the way, I stopped by the post office to pay off all of my bounties, which almost emptied out my entire wallet. Crimes are costly in this state, not gonna lie. When back at our camp, we greeted John starting the next mission.
Uncle told me something about a train.
What did he say?
Mary Beth overheard something about a train full of wealthy folk rolling down through Scarlet Meadows just south of the state border.
Yes.
Need help with it?
I ain't even sure about doing it.
Come on. At night, not too guarded, it's perfect.
Nah, I ain't thought it through. You know, stopping a train, pain in the ass.
Sure, but what if we could force a train to stop?
Well, of course.
We get a wagon full of something flammable, oil. Put it on the tracks. They see it. They know they either have to stop or die. Ain't no train driver wants to be cooked alive.
That is kind of brilliant. For you. That is a real idea. I think that's the first time you ever had one of them.
Shut up.
You might be the first bastard to ever have half his brains eaten by a wolf and end up more intelligent.
So we doing it?
Yeah, we're gonna need ammunition, guns, look real frightening, and some dynamite to open up the train.
I'll get the supplies. Gotta head into town for Abigail anyway. Don't even ask. You go find us an oil wagon.
Yeah, I know just the place. They're always heading into that refinery.
There's an old rundown shack just over the border, north of a place called Dewberry Creek. Leave it hidden somewhere near there.
A quick note to John, we were off to steal an oil wagon. I mounted our good boy and off we go, starting day 13 with spotting a bounty hunter in the middle of nowhere. We loot him and head over to look at the oil wagons. This was a huge factory of sorts, which had ton of armed bodyguards. I thought it would be best to go in guns blazing, and that is what we did, ending up dead because of their sheer numbers. The second time, I decided to hop straight into their compound and steal the oil wagon, which was probably the intended way to do this, as that was pretty quick and smooth. With almost zero resistance, we were able to leave the area and park the wagon at the spot John told us about. I noticed that I had left my horse back at the oil factory. However, conveniently there was a stable close by, and I was able to retrieve my horse in no time. I stabled our good boy, replacing him with our OG boy. We upgraded our saddle to a silver improved saddle, which looked amazing. Leaving the stables, I took a moment to appreciate nature in RDR2, which was very calming, and this happened.
Hey! Need a hand with your horse?
Sounds good.
Shit.
Which led me to question to this series of events. I tracked down the horse and studied it, which revealed it had some amazing stats. We changed our location and headed straight back to the stables to make the horse our own. We reached the stables and renamed the horse to Girl. We then took her out for a ride and she was fast. I changed outfits while on the way and we stumbled across this man who challenged us to a shooting competition.
You there! Would you be interested in some friendly competition?
I was feeling pretty confident about this given the time I have been practicing this, and I gladly accepted. We won the first bet but lost on the second. Good game, my man. We loot his body and finally, without any distractions, we reached John, starting his cutscene.
Let's get on.
Good. And you?
Got everything we need.
Good. I think we need another man. Charles?
I'll go get him. Meet us at the wagon when you can.
Sure.
See, Arthur? Ain't that dumb.
Next time, let the wolves eat all your brain. Then you'll be a genius.
Who did you call a goddamn drunkard? Some shit.
I got no idea.
Hey, Arthur. Come here a minute.
What is it?
Can I ask you a favor?
Probably not.
Very funny. Would you do something with Jack? He seems kind of down. All this upheaval can't have been easy on the poor kid.
Why? Because I'm your preferred nursemaid?
Because he likes you and, well, you know his father's useless.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was not expecting the turn of events. We had to take our boy Jack over to the river to teach him and me about some fishing. We mounted our girl and soon reached the river bank where we were to fish. I fished and fished and fished, where Jack made a necklace and this happened.
This necklace I made.
Necklace?
For Mama.
Sure.
What a fine young man. And in such complex circumstances. Arthur, isn't it? Arthur Morgan?
Who are you?
Yes, Arthur Morgan. Vanderlin's most trusted associate. You've read the files. Typical case. Orphaned street kid seduced by that maniac's silver tongue and matures into a degenerate murderer. Agent Milton? Agent Ross. Pinkerton Detective Agency, seconded to the United States government. Nice to finally meet. We know a lot about you.
Do you?
You're a wanted man, Mr. Morgan. There's $5,000 for your head alone.
$5,000? For me? Can I turn myself in?
We want Vanderlyn.
Oh, Dutch. I haven't seen him for months.
That's so. Because I heard a guy fitting his description robbed a train belonging to Leviticus Cornwall up near Granite Pass.
Oh, ain't that a little old-fashioned nowadays?
Apparently not. Listen. This is my offer, Mr. Morgan. Bring in Vanderlyn, and you have my word you won't swing.
Oh, I ain't gonna swing anyways, Agent
Milton.
You see, I haven't done anything wrong. Aside from not playing the games to your rules.
Spare me the philosophy lesson. I've already heard it from Mac Callender.
Mac Callender?
He was pretty shot up by the time I got to him. So really, it was more of a mercy killing. Slow, but merciful.
You enjoy being a rich man's toy, do you?
I enjoy society, flaws and all. You people venerate savagery, and you will die. Savagely. All of you.
Oh, we're all gonna die, Agent.
Some of us sooner than others. Good day, Mr. Morgan.
Goodbye.
Enjoy your fishing, kid, while you still can.
Those were the Pinkertons which were mentioned many a times in the campaign. We dropped off Jack and reported the incident to Dutch, where he instructed us to remain calm. Wise move, Dutch. When that was done, we marked John back on the map, pat our girl, and off we go. Luckily, nobody interrupted us during this voyage of ours, and we reached our mission point, where we saw Sean.
Well, at least it ain't your job.
Shut up, Arthur.
Yeah, your job's starting the fights. It ain't winning them.
I can scrap, Arthur. I'm just no good at homework.
I can see.
Besides, what do you care, Englishman? You've got no time for me. I tried to find you work, but then you're off cutting jobs with other folks, and your boy Sean doesn't get a look in.
Guess I don't want to get shot, that's all.
You're a real fucking funny shit, Arthur Morgan, huh? Real fucking funny.
Calm down.
You better sleep with your eyes open.
Yeah, well, you're gonna sleep with your chest open if you ain't careful, boy.
I love you, Arthur Morgan. I love you. Come on, take a shot. Come on, take your best shot, please, eh?
Grow up.
We slept the night, threw a stone at Sean to wake him up as John and Charles were here. Our plan was to block the train with the oil wagon, and that is indeed what we did. John, Charles and Sean hid in the bushes nearby, and we took charge of the situation in the most dramatic way possible.
Get moving. Here she comes.
We stopped the train and hopped onto the cabin where we looted the passengers. Rinse and repeat until we reached the last cabin where Sean was about to enter. And
Here, Arthur.
we then looted the last cabin and somehow the law was upon us, which took me by surprise. However, since we had the power of gunpowder and bullets, we were able to fend them off pretty easily. We hopped on our horses in a cheeky attempt to run away from them, as multiple waves of enemies still approached us from multiple directions, eventually ending the chase when the wanted sign was off of our screen. Everybody got paid for the loot we acquired. However, John thought that it was too quick for the law to show up this fast. Someone had tipped them off about them, and Arthur has started to get a bad feeling about all this. Ending the cutscene with everyone fleeing on their own ways, we marked the next mission location, Micah, where he asked us to meet at the same location we brought down hell upon half the town. While on the way there, I saw a random question mark on the map, which led us to meet Jeremy Gill, a famous fisherman. He gave us a quest to find some legendary fish and also told us that it had good money in it. Tell me no more, man. You got it. We accepted his quest by picking up the map to find the legendary fish we was asking for and left towards the marker where we took a moment to appreciate the beautiful scenery of D14. And again, we were ambushed by a bunch of men who took down our girl. I was furious at this point in time and my blood boiled as our girl lay on the ground. We took down the men, revived our horse with a potion, quite handy information at this point. We then pat our girl to calm her down from the near-death event she just witnessed and looted all the bodies before reaching Valentine and visiting the gun shop to buy a fully customized Springfield rifle. I got distracted by the recent shopping and decided it was best to go to the closest mission marker, Javier. Turns out he wanted to sell sheep. That's right, sheep.
How's the scar?
I heal pretty fast.
Lucky you. So you just lazing about, or you got any leads?
I got something. You see them?
Sure.
We got yet another sniper rifle from the gun shop and we shot at the sheep to scare them off. We then herded them towards the auction house where we were to sell them, and Dutch was waiting for us at the saloon. We quickly made our way to Dutch and this happened.
To your good health.
Thank you.
Vanderland! Get out here! Get out
What
here
the
now!
hell?
Vanderland! You don't know me, but you keep robbing me! My name is Leviticus Cornwall. I am not a man to be messed with by the likes of you! Get out here before I have these men killed!
What do you think?
Get out here,
Well,
you depraved piece of trash!
You start spinning the yarn. When I think the moment's right, I'll make a move.
Got where I am by letting
Why
scum
not?
like you rob from me! Vanderland, you're done! Now get out here now! Deal with this nonsense.
We used Deadeye, but this is a skill which I later discover down the game, late game. We quick draw our pistol to shoot all of these men down, and then hell rained down upon the four of us, where Mr. Strauss was shot and the three of them had to push a wagon for escaping the town. How dramatic indeed. We succeeded in reaching the point where I was told to pick up Strauss and head out of here. We took out some more guys down there where I decided it would be best to flee the scene and get the wanted level off of our heads for the moment. We escaped Valentine and the law, where we were greeted by yet another beautiful scenery, overlooking rays of light falling down on the ground. How wonderful indeed. We pat our girl and cleaned the lot of gun that we were carrying, and off we were to talk with Dutch to discuss the future plans about what we are going to do with the encounter we had with Leviticus Cornwall. We reached our camp, hitched our girl, and went over to have a word with Dutch, where Hosea already was in an interesting conversation speaking of moving to Paris. We greeted Dutch and the cutscene played, explaining that it was indeed not safe for us to stay here any longer, as the Pinkertons, O'Driscolls, and the very recent Leviticus Cornwall were all on our tails. We were tasked with finding a new place for the camp, where Dutch suggested Micah told him about a possible location for the camp. Oh, and also Dutch called us his son.
You have turned into my son. You worry because I worry. We are just the same.
Charles and I were tasked to go check it out, which we did, finding a dried river and a dead body. My spider senses started tingling, if you can call them that. Upon investigating, we stumbled upon this family who conveniently did not know how to speak English. We accepted their quest to save their father, rode over to their location by using our eagle eye to track down the men who kidnapped their father, and took down the men we encountered and looted their bodies before finally rescuing the father. We took him down to the place they all were and they left. However, as a token of gratitude, the father gave us a brick of gold.
Schatz!
Andreas, ich hab gedacht, du seist tot.
Beinahe wärst du gewesen, meine Lieblinge, meine Herz allerliebsten. Oh, wie wunderbar. Oh.
Sie sind ein großer Mann.
Ja.
Ein großer Mann.
Ja, wirklich.
Es ist ein Segen, dass wir Sie getroffen haben.
Come on, now get out of here. This place ain't safe. Get out of here!
Ja, ja,
Vamos!
alles klar.
Vamos!
Ich hab was für Sie. Einen Moment. Dankeschön. Thank you. Vielen Dank, herzlichen Dank.
Guess it was a pleasure.
Ja!